Hey y'all, welcome to another edition of the Do's and the Don'ts as we recap Insecure Season 5, Episode 3. This was wild. So come in, sit back. We'll be talking to Jay Hall momentarily, and we are excited to get into this conversation with you all. Should I have some music playing? So this latest Insecure episode was very intense. We saw Lawrence and how he is navigating new fatherhood. Condola, how she's navigating motherhood. And so it is going to be a good conversation with Jay once he gets on, and excited to see what he has to say about this episode. So stay tuned. If y'all in the chat, let me know what y'all thought about the episode. Did you like it? Anything stood out? Who was right? Who was wrong? I think they did a really good job, though, of balancing the stories between Lawrence and Condola, for sure. All right, so Jay's here. We'll get started.
Yo,
Hey.
yo,
Let me turn the volume up some. There we go.
yo.
That was a lot. I was not ready. So I have this thing where I do not watch the trailers in between. Like afterwards, like I come up and I start like setting up the camera and stuff. I do go back for the wind downs, but I do not watch the trailer. So I had no idea what it was. Wild. This was wild. A ride. What happened? Hey, Red. It looked like J Hawk got dropped, so hopefully he'll come back in. I don't know what happened. Did I? I don't think so. Let me invite him again. Cancel. Come on. All right. There you go. All
No,
right.
that was on me. I was wilding with you, and I ended up hitting the button. That was on me. That was totally on me. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue. Because I'm ready.
So I don't watch the trailer, so I didn't know what was happening in this episode. I knew it was Lawrence focused just by the timeline. But it was very intense, and I this is what I like about it. I thought it was a very balanced approach to the storyline. It wasn't pro one or the other. Like we kind of saw them trying to navigate new parenthood from a very almost objective lens, which I think a lot of times when, both of us don't have children. I have had and lost a child. I've talked about this before. So I have a baby father situation. I've experienced that to some degree, but definitely not to this degree. But I think what we normally hear with our friends and our stories is like, oh, you hear from the friend that you're closest to, and then you kind of take their side. You're passionate about their side, versus you rarely get to see both people kind of navigating at the same time. What were your thoughts? What were your initial thoughts?
So my initial thoughts were, I do watch everything, so I was waiting on this episode. My initial thoughts was just, first was, wow, you're right. They did show a good line. And the first thing that came to my head was that old saying my grandma used to say, you know, mama's baby, papa's maybe.
Excuse me,
Because
what was it saying?
mama's baby, papa's maybe.
Ooh.
Because it shows sometimes how both, when you're separate as a couple, how one side doesn't necessarily have an idea what the other side is doing.
Yeah.
Right. And so they take their frustrations out a lot of times on each other, and then everything that they assume about the other person, they bring it up. You know what I mean? So like my initial reaction was like, yep, a lot of dudes I talk to in certain circles, this is what they fear. I mean, I like you just said, I got homeboys that they feel like they have no say in anything. You know, the woman got pregnant, she already had everything going on for herself. All she needed was the child, and you
Ooh,
don't
we talked
you
about that. We talked about that
yeah,
before.
you
That's
donated your
my
sperm, you know, and bye bye. And so I know my group chats are ringing off the hook right about now. Matter of fact, my bro Mark, he texted me, was like, "Yep, I'm not going on Twitter today," because it's just like I know it's out there. But on the other side, I had to remember and pull back for a second because Condola might be looking at it like I'm trying to do everything so you won't see I'm trying to be a burden.
right.
So we named them already. We're gonna give him your last name, this and this. But he coming in like, yo, you got this tribe of women who are making all these decisions as if I'm not even. So you already presented this case as if I'm not that needed. So yeah, I don't have a problem saying I'm not going to be there this weekend because you've already made this presentation or whatever. But it also show how Lawrence has no idea, and most men, most of us have no idea the labor that a lot of women go through. You
I
know what
thought
I
that was
mean?
really good to show her. Red said Condola told him to back off. And I agree, but I don't think she was prepared for what motherhood would take out of her either. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
and I think they did a really good job showing this parallel. That split scene.
I
That
did.
split scene is so accurate even for men who are married or in the picture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
It's not balanced, and that's just the reality of it, you know.
yeah.
And I think Lawrence selfishness. I think he's selfish. I think Condola's being selfish as well, but I think his hinders his ability to see things clearly into the end. To literally like his life is about to, if you've ever been on a plane with turbulence, like it will snatch you. Like,
So I told you, but everyone else on the side note that happened to me 2 weeks after Kobe passed away.
oh wow.
Being on a very small plane,
Wow.
turbulence, everything was shaking. I promise you, it changed my life. Like
Yeah.
I promise you, it definitely changed my life. So to get back, and thank you for saying that. I do think that they both were being selfish. And you and I have had conversations before about how selfish sometimes is good, selfish sometimes is bad. But we are used to hearing the word selfish, and we feel that sting. So
Negative.
I agree, they both was being selfish. So I had an issue with the split screen.
Okay.
Although I thought it was real, um, I think if there's parts of the episode as a whole that's still gonna go over people's heads. So yeah, Lawrence has time to be at his job, but when they did the split screen, they're showing Lawrence having fun, and they're showing her in labor. But the episode is showing Lawrence like working hard,
Mm,
staring at the bait, like staring, like he's having
he's
emotions.
he's nesting. So that's
He's
the thing too. So
yeah,
here's the thing that I've heard like older people say, that women prepare for motherhood from conception, right? And men prepare for fatherhood like once the baby is here. So that's kind of the thing, like what the hell was happening these last 9 months where y'all didn't talk about names, birthing plans, like all this kind of stuff. And it'll be one thing if I felt like Lawrence was a deadbeat, but like I don't know, it was just really odd to see him not be. And I think that's the thing too, right? Oh, so many dynamics. The scene at the baptism where he's getting applauded for showing up and doing the like just showing up, like it's such a real thing what you see for fathers. Like as long as they're present, they're applauded, and women can go through all this, you know what I'm saying, and it
Yeah.
be nothing.
Yeah.
But I just think that Lawrence, this trend that we see, and then we saw his career at first until he like got more proactive. It's like this very passive approach to, you know, deciding what part he wants to play in shaping his life or his story. I think it's very like passive versus active, and I think he's gonna. I think he made that switch very quickly. But even then, they were saying like it's 4 months. So I think like the time is moving very quickly this season. Like where are we? I have no idea where we are. The baby was 4 months. I thought the baby was just born.
Yo, it's something to what you're saying in that, and I hear you. My issue was how it was shot.
Okay. Yeah.
Because people have a tendency to remember the most dramatic parts.
Right.
If you're thinking about just that parallel part, you're gonna be like, "Oh,
He
Lauren,
smashing no girl." That's
right?"
all.
And he having his whatever, right? But the reason why Lawrence is just showing up and he's getting applauded, well, the next scene over, he's talking to his man. He's like, "Yo, there are dudes out here not being here for their father," because contrary to that, we are taught about fatherhood, but we're only taught about what not to do. So we are prepping for fatherhood, but we're prepping for what not to do. And that's why he was venting to his boy, like, yo, there are dudes out here not, I'm being ridiculed, meaning like I didn't even get a chance to show if I'm a douchebag or I'm a good, like I'm not even allowed to fail. And I think the problem when it comes when you see it in fatherhood is that when the man is trying to get it right and he makes a mistake, it becomes a, see, you have no idea. We carry all this. And I mean, I'm pretty sure in the digital universe right now, or whoever's watching, it's going to be a whole lot of individuals making that statement. But the point is, women in motherhood are allowed to make certain mistakes versus men in society's pressures don't allow them to make that many mistakes. Now, I agree. I do think Lauren is passive aggressive. I don't think he represents all men, but I do think that he was passive aggressive because even with me, as much as I'm Team Lauren, I'm looking at it like, bruh, you could have made a more active role, even though she told you that, right? Like she gave you that whole out thing. But if you know you're not that kind of person that can take that, like emotionally, when it comes to like a child,
right?
And granted, listen, I felt everything he said. He was like, yo, you came to me when I got this job. Like, you make this decision without me. I've been on the phone many a days with homeboys at 3 a.m. who's like, yo, what in the hell? And then you punish me for it.
Right.
You made this decision and you punish me for it. I understand that feeling. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really understand that feeling. But there are certain things that you have to wake up for a little bit sooner. And having a child is one of them. You know what I mean? And so I think all those points were made in this episode. My issue was just how it was shot, because I just don't think people are going to think about the times when he's staring at the baby crib.
Yeah.
And what that does
and
to
like
a man.
getting it and I just
Yeah.
I thought all those moments were real and beautiful. I felt like they were a little delayed since baby was already here, you know what I'm saying? It just felt like not an afterthought, but like, oh, yeah, I'm a father. Let me pull it together. You know what I'm saying? Which, yes, better late than never. But I think it's kind of the thing, probably where Issa was like, I'm good.
I don't know, man. I mean, and I think that's the great part about where we at right now, right? I think this is the part where you and I can be on this opposite, because I don't think it was a.
I'm not Team Condola. Let's be clear. Like,
Oh no, I'm with you. No, I'm with you.
And
I'm
I
with
feel
you.
like in my tweets you can read, like, I feel like she didn't give Lawrence any autonomy to like be a father and step up and see what he was capable of. Like she thwarted that before he even had a chance. Like if you're gonna give him his name and then you say, okay, you're gonna keep him informed, then let him take responsibility and not wear yourself out, you know, to the bare bones. Like, let him come be
And this is the argument that a lot of men are trying to make without being seen as if they're pushing down or being angry at women. And one of the frustrations that a lot of men in circles that I've talked to, or even when I see online, if they make that complaint that you just stated, they look like they're bashing down on a woman. and they
Mm.
don't know how to communicate that frustration. Unfortunately, a lot of them, without bashing the woman, unfortunately, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, where do you find this language to be able to communicate your frustration that I want to be a part? I'm not, because in the societal, when you think about the black man in America being treated like a buck of breeding, then you look around and your quote unquote counterpart, the mother of your child, is treating you in the same way. That's generational trauma right
Yeah.
there in your face.
Yeah.
Oh, so you just needed me to produce this child.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And there's a inner anger that you're feeling in that you, and you don't even know how to explain that. But to your point, there's also the whole, but you're being applauded for being here because the standard is other men haven't been there, when that's technically not enough.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm trying to see what um Reddy said. She has to respect that he's that type of person. It is, isn't it interesting that Lawrence has asked Issa to move to San Francisco without Condola?
Yeah, I hear it. And you know what?
I didn't even think about that. That is
yo, Red is right about one thing in particular that I will say off the top. You know what kind of individual he is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were dating Lawrence. Like, you didn't have sex with Lawrence at one night stand. You were dating Lawrence. So whatever passive aggressive, whatever part of his personality that restricted you from having like a full relationship with him, because remember that was a thing. He was really into her, but then she was kind of like coming out of divorce. And when he had that dinner party and he was all being excited and he was like, "What is this for you?" And
right.
that's how he ended up getting back with Issa in the first place, because Condola didn't want to take it to that. So if he had that type of personality that didn't make you want him to be your boyfriend or partner, there's
Ooh.
going to be, now you want him to be this father. Or you told him you didn't want him, he can participate as much as he did. He followed your direction about that. And then you're frustrated at that. And the thing about these things in life is that it is okay to make these mistakes. It is okay to change your mind. The problem is the anger that comes about it. And then you're throwing me in the same category as individuals who are not me. You're throwing me in the category as deadbeat dad. Your family's looking at me all twisted face. And you're
That was
not
so
even telling
messed
them, no.
up. That was so messed up.
Yo,
Like,
you're not even telling them the whole story. I'm walking in. I got to hear about my son being born on a text message. Like, what we doing right now? You know what I'm
you're not
saying?
even like, I'm going into labor, like anything, nothing.
And the
Like,
one thing about Lawrence that I'm seeing that, and shout out to Issa again for her magnificent writing, Lawrence thought that his problems would be solved once he got money.
woo, snap.
And I've definitely felt that way before,
Yeah.
because you got to understand his first frustration was,
I let me be clear. I still feel that way.
I still do too. But it's a work in progress. We are works in progress. I still do too. But we saw Lawrence have frustration on the couch when he was financially restricted.
Mm-hmm.
Now he has the finances and he's
And
feeling restricted.
still, oh,
There is no way when you are a black man or a black woman in America that you can escape any part of frustration of feeling like you're going to hit a ceiling.
yeah. Ray is mad. He like, well, I gotta hear about this baby going to urgent care all late.
Nah, he's right about that.
He's
Like,
right.
hearing about the baby going.
Hearing it not even like this happened. Hearing it as a point in an argument. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't a fair. That wasn't a fair fight. Um. Yeah. I a couple things stood out to me aside from them. Clearly missing from the baby party, and we've talked about this before. The baby's birthday party was Issa and Molly. So where were they? I really feel like they weren't invited. That's kind of my stance. I don't think they would have been invited and just not showing up.
Um, for right now, I agree with you. But Issa and her, the way she writes, they end up they might explain that the next episode.
That's true.
Because remember, it was a couple times where they did something like that, where somebody didn't invite the next episode. You find out where this person was already somewhere else. So I'll hold faith for one episode only, though. If you don't tell me why y'all wasn't there in that one episode, then I'm going with you. You wasn't invited. But then we also, to your point, another pushback I got on this episode in particular was the time. we know the last episode they skipped a whole year. Okay, we talked about that. We wasn't excited about it, but we understood where it was. Right now, to your point, I'm not knowing the time frame, right?
4 months in one episode,
and that's it, right? So we don't. I mean, are we like you said? Let's take it where you were saying. Let's say they wasn't invited. So was in between? Was all y'all beefing? I don't know. Like that's the part that's a little confusing for me. But
yeah.
I'll give it another episode to find out because I think when it was, so you don't watch trailers,
No,
but
I
after the first
like finish
episode,
lighting and stuff.
after the first episode, when they were talking about trailers for the rest of the season, I think Lawrence is going to end up moving back to LA.
He has to at this point. I think that's if he wants to be an active father, he's not hopping on the plane every weekend. You see how exhausting it is. Aside, turbulence aside, like it's exhausting hopping on a plane week in, week out. Like that's not sustainable. And yeah, so I think he moves back. It'll be interesting. This is what I liked about the episode. From a series point of view. What we talked about, I think last week, is like there's normally some comedic relief, and I guess we had that with Chad some. Yeah. But they went hard.
No, there was no relief. There was no relief.
Hard.
Her sister was trying to give us a little joke, but it wasn't. We were already in.
It was nothing. I think the episode warranted that level of seriousness. You know what I'm saying? And to cause attention to it's a real Black millennial issue, and I think a lot of times it is not approached with the level of care that it needs.
Can you break that down a little bit further? Help me understand.
I just think that a lot of I think the storyline where Black millennials are having children, a lot of times it's not a traditional family unit. And how do you navigate co-parenting in a way we haven't seen before? You know what I'm saying? So we've seen absent fathers, this stereotype of absent fathers perpetuated. We've seen kind of this nuclear family where you have the two parents there, and then I think we're bringing in a new era of what co-parenting could look like that's healthy, where both parents are involved, but they're still trying to navigate this new terrain. You know, they're trying to navigate both being new parents and then this new dynamic where they're not in a relationship anymore. They probably still care about each other's, hopefully humanity, but they are not romantically involved, but they don't hate each other either. But they really are trying to figure out how do we move forward and like raise this child together, i.e. not millennials, but just thinking about Erykah Badu and Andre 3000, where he moved to Dallas, you know what I'm saying, to raise his son because he wanted to be present, you know what I'm saying, and what that sacrifice looks like. I would love to hear from someone who's like, had to make that level where I'm gonna leave this life that I've established because at this point in my life, raising my child is more important than anything.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think also we don't see those spaces because people didn't want to believe that they exist. It's crazy what America accepts and what they don't. When you come up, you hear about the hippie movement and how they were about the free love package and everything was fine. I mean, you got white kids they're naming their kids Moonshadow and they don't know who their father is because your parents met at this big house where everyone was having sex listening to the Beach Boys.
That's
but
right.
All of a sudden in the late 70s and 80s or whatever, when Black people were doing it in a combination of our financial struggles, our continuous financial struggles, then it became this welfare queen, baby daddy type of look down upon thing. But missing the fact that why is it okay over here if you have love and it can work versus how down it looks over here. And the thing is, it's crazy how 2021, with just now, Insecure is trying to present us a way, because also the great thing about that birthday party was that you had one couple that was married and they were traditional, and then you have a couple that shows up and they are not together and they're with a parent, right?
Yeah.
And those places exist. You and I have been to those places. We
Yeah.
have mutual friends. We have like we've been to those places, but we also live in DC. When we go back home, people act like we're talking about Never Neverland, like it doesn't exist. And I'm watching Insecure, and I've been telling people about this kind of existence for years. Like
Yeah.
when I first went to New York, and there was two parents sitting there, and they were both with two other people, and they had two kids that were both their kids, and the other one had a third kid. And this was this couple, and they were all making it work. And we were all eating Friendsgiving dinner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm going back and I'm telling people, and everyone looking at me crazy. So shout out to Issa for presenting that with a black face, because I think that negative stereotype narrative was something that even we got to a point where we accepted.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be accepted like that, because when you look at Lawrence, you look at Condola, they both are in a professional prime. Like they are both
Yeah.
doing it. There's nothing, hoodness or raggedy about neither one of their presentation. They are just exhausted from being parents. And they're going to show you, even though you can have all the money, parenthood is a lot.
Yeah.
And they don't even have a
I
unit.
think it's a big transition that people kind of gloss over, but I had a physical doctor, primary care physician, and she said, like, basically for every transition, you need to give your body 3 to 6 months to catch up with this change. You know what I'm saying? Like you think you're mentally there, your body's changing, your brain is changing. Everything has to kind of switch up. And a lot of times there's a lot of different transitions that we kind of go through where we don't even give ourselves time and space to process what's happening. We're just kind of going through the motions, and then we're like, wait, what is this happening? I think that's what's happening for both probably Lawrence and Condola, where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna go on our paths, but like, no, there needs to be some conversion, somewhere. Like, how are we gonna raise this child together? And I think Condola was naive for thinking she can do it without Lawrence, or not wanting Lawrence to be around, even with family support. I've been fortunate enough in my family where I have been. We're very communal, so we'll have ex-husbands, new husbands, fathers, everybody be at the same place, especially when my grandmother was alive. So you'll see everybody at family gatherings, with their children, and there'll be no issue. And I think that's really how it should be, where everybody's interests are focused on how can we make this child, give this child the best opportunities for like living in a healthy, loved environment. And that's like all hands on deck.
Yeah, I agree. It is all hands on deck. And it seemed like Lawrence was trying to make that with the families when he was
Yeah.
making that
Right.
suggestion.
Yeah.
I mean, because I've heard couples tell me, I mean, I'm a godfather and everything, and I've heard couples say, like, yo, you need a village. You need more even than two parents. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
To raise your kid. And there was this attempt, but it seems like, they wasn't trying to make it. But can we just take a second to shout out Issa for putting in icons on the low on the I mean, that was
Layla.
like, yeah, I'll keep want to call it sunshine. I'm so sorry. Like I'm like that was like Layla Rashad was in there. I mean, he used to just be putting in all the
Kiki
legends that
Palmer.
yeah, Kiki Palmer
Effortless funny.
that we grew up on.
She's such an effortless, funny comedian, actress,
Who?
comedic actress.
Who?
Kiki Palmer.
Yeah. Yeah, she is. I just like how Issa puts in these gems for us, letting
Yeah,
us know how much a part of us like she is. And I just personally, I just really, really rock with it. So I just
I
wanted to
do too. It's
take
a
time to say
beautiful
that.
salute though to Black. It's a pretty beautiful salute to like Blackness and Black history and Black film history and Black TV. Like just a nod to say, because a thing you talk about a lot, especially on social media, that I've seen that with music, it's like people have very short term memories, right? They think that they're the first to do something, or the first, for something to happen, the first of this genre. Like, no, there's people who have done this. There's like it's recorded, there's videos. Like, this is
Yeah.
not the first time we've seen this. And I think with Issa, she does a great job of paying homage to like TV, Black TV. Like, these are the even with all the series, like the mini show she was doing with, Black actors.
Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah, I do miss that.
Yeah.
I do miss that. Just like showing like, hey, we've been doing black TV, whether you acknowledge it or not. Like Keke Palmer, I think it's more of a black. I mean, she had the show she was doing, like a Good Morning Show or Today Show, or like one of them morning shows, where I think kind of expanded her brand. But like before that, she was like exclusively the Irish. Later, Rashawn's exclusively Irish. I think
Yeah.
that's a beautiful nod to our icons.
No, it is. And I like how she puts it in there because it doesn't seem forced. You
Mm.
know, when they pop up and they're a sister or they're a mother or they're a brother or it's on TV, it comes across so natural. It almost makes you want to hit the rewind. Like, wait a
Yeah,
minute, was that such and such? You know? And so
yeah,
I'm liking that. How are you thinking if we're predicting is right? We're predicting Lawrence moved to LA. He's back. How are you thinking that's going to affect the trifecta? Like, because they have these mutual friends. That's another thing about this group that we're watching.
yeah.
They have these mutual
Relatable.
friends, not just mutual associates, mutual friends. So how do you think that works? Because yes, we didn't see Molly nor Issa at this party, but there are plenty other parties. There are plenty other things to go. How do you see this working with the characters that we know?
You know what? I think that is so relatable to, I would say, at least my experience. I probably would say, take some liberty and say our experiences in DC, where, we went to college here. We still live here. A lot of our friends still live here. You can date someone and move on and not, like, we'll see them again. You're going to see them again. So I think that challenge is going to be interesting to see how it plays out on film. But my hope is that that Issa is moving on as well. I think she made the right decision for her to walk away from Lawrence at this time because of, we talked about this before, but like the consequences, but it was right. Like I think her gut feeling, like how he's gonna show up and like try to navigate and try to keep everybody happy. And like I don't think it's gonna be something he's gonna have to grow into with any partner he decides to be with, but especially with Issa, I think she didn't want to have to deal with that, especially with her independent relationship with Condola. Like it just that's it's gonna be challenging, but I think they will be cordial. I think they will be friends. I think they can definitely be friends. I don't think it should go any further than that.
I agree with you as far as looking at it right now. Issa made the right decision because to be in the midst of all that, that would have been a lot on everybody.
Everybody.
But I do think that there is room once things settle for them to still find each other. I think certain couples have that apart time and then they come back and then I don't know if you ever like, if you ever had that kind of relationship where you go back and forth with somebody, when you play catch up and you find out what was going on in their life, you be kind of like, yeah, I'm glad I wasn't there during that period of time. You know what I'm saying? You be like, damn, you was in that?
Yep.
Man. And you don't mind picking up right now.
Right.
But that little 2 year or that 9 months or that 13 months when y'all didn't speak, and then when you play catch up, you be like, man, that was a lot. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's why there's a part of me that feels that there's still, I don't want to say hope, but there's still a possibility for them to get together.
Dang. Team Nathan. So
I can't, yo.
this is what I can say though. Even for those on again, off again, a lot of times you don't have to be like, necessarily with someone else, but there's just a lot of growth in, self-awareness, self-realization that has to happen that can't necessarily happen within the context of a relationship. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? And so there's just sometimes I think that's kind of the thing that resonates with me the most. Like sometimes you have to kind of get out of the situation to see it for what it is and see yourself apart from that situation, and then kind of really go back into whatever the context of the relationship is going to be with more intention, and more boundaries, or how you're going to go in a little bit healthier, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
He said, I'm tired of Kelly going to parties by herself. Nathan is not the worst character on the show. Redhead, we are not even going there.
No,
Period.
I wouldn't give Nathan the worst character, but I do think y'all be giving Nathan the biggest grace card, the unlimited grace card, like it's nothing. I do think that though. I do think that
Lawrence had a
Nathan.
baby with Condola.
You said what?
Lawrence had a baby with Condola.
I mean, if you tell me you on the pill,
Did she say that?
I mean, but
Yeah,
obviously, if you
that might have been alluded to in the episode or something. Like I thought we were safe or thought we was careful or something like that.
yeah, you know what I mean? And then you said, or they did allude to the fact that obviously the reason why they acted on it is because she assured him that it was a life she didn't want at first. And now she does. As far as when it comes to being a mother. Because
Yeah,
remember when she sits down on the couch, she said, I didn't at first and now I do. So with that being said, that's where you at right now. I mean, I think Nathan's a great character. I like what he brings. I don't
yeah,
think he's the worst. I'm only going, and I try not to let my feelings for Nathan's character be based upon this over big ass grace card I see everyone in the digital universe giving him, and I try to just look at him solely for what he is. I think he's a good character. I think he's good for Issa. But I do think him and Issa are better as friends.
that's fair. This is a hypothetical. What if Issa ends up with no one? Is it still a
I
good?
was actually thinking that. No, that's not far off from me.
Yeah,
I really do think that where Issa is going right now, the possibility of her being by herself is okay.
yeah,
Like I would be fine with that if she at the end of the season flies off somewhere else and then happens to smile at someone at the airport. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
With a new
yeah,
possibility and a whole new life. Like I would be. I don't think she has to end up with anyone. I just like how the show is written when it shows what's going on between her and Lawrence.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That resonated. I don't have any other notes. That was that they took up this. I loved the uncle, Lawrence uncle. He was hilarious. That was some comic relief. I think it was beautifully shot again. Like the scenes were cinematically gorgeous. I really didn't have too many notes for this one because it was pretty much a single storyline that we followed.
Yeah, and it was all about the baby,
Yeah.
and what it did. And my wish is that seeing it, that people will have more respect than they had for a side they didn't know.
Mm,
So my wish is that men have more respect for what women are put through, and women will have more respect for men. But the reality in me, I know it's just not going to happen. It's just
you
not going
are
to happen. It's just not.
so there.
It's not going to happen.
Which I appreciate because I don't necessarily think you're the most optimistic person I know naturally. So I appreciate this optimistic in
I
this
said
hope that
wish, not hope. There's a difference between the words. I said wish. I said my wish, but I don't see it.
I
I
wish.
see Lawrence. Lawrence is that guy. Lawrence is literally that person that, I mean, he is Tyra. He is that we were all rooting for you because
Mm,
I see why and I understand it. But I also see when he does make a mistake, how it lands on other people. And
yeah,
even though I'm understanding and I can give that grace and that perspective, but the way it lands on other people and how they present him, I do raise an eyebrow. And then I understand why certain men who love the show be so upset because we are like, but yeah, but you're not. Why y'all not giving? Where it's frustrating to watch sometimes. And then sometimes Lawrence does, like, he'll drop the ball because I was riding with Lawrence every part of this episode until he canceled. Although I got it. Because to your point, traveling is a lot. You and I, we do that. We travel. It is a lot.
it
But
is.
the way they showed that at that moment, I was like, Lawrence, you're killing me, bro.
Yep.
You're killing me, bro. Like I can't make these arguments for you when I'm going in these circles. Like you're killing me, bro.
And this thing too, I think one of the notes that just came to me is like, do we rely on text messages too much?
Yep.
Because
Go ahead. Yep.
it was so much texting with not enough like very short, and I appreciate how they showed it. Like these are very short messages. Sometimes my text, if it's longer than 5 lines for me, I'll do a voice note. So that's kind of my rule of thumb. Like, but Lawrence was not, it's not, they're both not being great communicators. Let me just say that. Both not being great communicators and really using their words to express even their frustrations or hopes or ideas. I think on both sides, like, um, Condola's piecemealing information to Lawrence. And then Lawrence is not telling like what his expectations are, in the
Ooh.
hood, if he's even thought about it. So that piece was, I think, very real to where we are as Black millennials. I am still struggling with, like, when to use my words, when to, like, really verbalize the backstory of my decision makings or my feelings or what led me to this point. And I think had they did that from the jump, then they will be in a much better situation.
Yeah, and also too, before we go, one thing I've been trying to get in the practice of is not assuming that me and this other individual have the same definition.
Ooh,
So
that's
when some
good.
yeah, so when somebody leave me with something and the first thing I try to remember to ask is like, hey, how does that look like to you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you're about to have a child or whatever and you say, I can participate as much as I want, what does that look like to you? You know
Mm,
what I mean? It's that because this is what it looks like. Because this is how I'm doing, which what I think you said, and you
right.
might have been like, that's not what you meant. And I think we don't ask each other in relationships or even when it comes to a job or something like that, like a description, like, well, what does that look like to you?
Yeah.
And I think that's what ends up coming back. And I've been trying to do it better in my journey,
Yeah.
and or even when I'm requesting something of someone to try to give them a brief description of what it looks like from my thing,
Yeah.
because you end up getting disappointed and that person thought something totally different than what it was, or they just went into their routine. So I think that's something that Lawrence and Condola, they didn't express that with each other on what that would actually look like. They both was operating how they would operate. Condola
Yeah.
is someone who handles business from what we saw. Like she take care of the business, right? So she
Yeah.
thought she could take care of this baby like the way she take care of anything else. Lawrence is I don't want to step on your toes, so if you're fine with it, I'm cool. I'm not going to enforce myself on you.
Right.
That's just kind of individual he is, where he's
Exactly.
like, well, what do you want to do? Okay, if you cool, I'm cool. And
Yep.
so if you tell him that's what it is, he's like, all right. He's not likely to change his mind unless he is on a plane and is about to crash.
Which it should not be that way. Uh, yeah, I ain't even touching the Lawrence is what happens when good guys navigate these modern times. I'm not even getting into the good guy because I don't think Lawrence. I don't think there's a such thing as a good guy. I think we're all doing the best we can, especially
Yeah, I can't even say that because the times that I got played, I probably deserved it.
that part.
I'm gonna keep it 100. Even when I was being good, was I?
Was high? Was
Was
the
I?
alternative? What was the expectations or the motives pure? To
Yeah, and just because I didn't get caught, that don't mean it wasn't real. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just and the good guy thing is kind of comes across as a very deserving kind of thing.
mm-hmm.
So let's say you was a good guy, okay, and you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Like that goes with bring it back home to starting with today of advocating for therapy and mental health. Like if you're dealing with these issues, deal with your issues so that you won't take it upon someone else.
yeah,
Because let's say you did get played 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, you have to deal with that. That doesn't mean the next person deserves that treatment. Just
yeah.
because you are nice, it does not mean you are deserving of something. But that's just me.
I agree.
That's
I
just me.
agree, and I think that's a great place to cut it out. I'm looking forward to next week. I enjoy these conversations. I've always said that our conversations, our podcast anyway, if we could just like bleep out names, we'd be like every conversation can go up as a.
Yeah, we would. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, I agree. I was about to get us in trouble. Like, nope, let's bring it home. I agree. I agree. You're right. Charlie's right.
But thank you again for your time. Thank you all for joining. Be sure to check it out fully on YouTube. Thank you for the comments and feedback. We appreciate you being here. We'll be back next Sunday, same black time, same black place. So we'll see
Yep.
y'all.
Deuces.
Have a good week.
You too.